And then there's the idea of these kind of girls that we've seen go viral recently. Like everyone was talking about Nala.
Right.
She got a lot of attention and some viral clips from being on the whatever podcast.
Mhm.
And then suddenly similar to who was that gal who created the makeup line? She's like a tattoo artist.
Oh, Kat Von D?
Kat Von D, yeah.
Mhm.
She was on this Blaze show. What's her name? Oh my god, I'm such a boomer. This is like pregnancy brain gone to mom brain. There's a blonde gal who has a show on the Blaze, and she had Kat Von D was on her show. So it's
Mhm.
Kat Von D, it's this chick Nala, and a lot of these girls have become viral through, oh, now I've had this come to Jesus moment.
Mhm.
I'm turning to Jesus. I'm turning over a new leaf. And then what does the internet do? Oh, this is fake. We don't believe it. We have to see more, I guess, proof to really believe it. And then you have someone like, the pearls of the internet going, well, oh, look at Nala's OnlyFans. Saying she had raised the price after she had done the Michael Knowles interview, saying that they're lying, they're not really changing their ways. Why do you think it's easy for people to go, oh, this is Christian grifting? Why do you think it's hard for some folks to just
Mhm.
believe someone has genuinely changed?
Well, firstly, I think most of the people who are saying such things aren't Christian. They aren't saved by Jesus themselves. So they don't have a comprehension of the grace of Jesus Christ because they're not saved. And so those of us who have been saved by grace, we understand, hey, none of us are perfect. All of us have a past. All of us fall short. And we're so grateful for the sacrifice of Jesus Christ and that we were able to be saved. And so when we see somebody else who becomes saved, we understand it because it's like, okay, well, I was saved. So in this case with Nala, obviously you'll know people by their fruits and time will tell for certain. But I think so far she's not giving any indication to say that she wasn't saved because here's a woman who was making she made over $9 million on OnlyFans. She by stopping her OnlyFans, which by the way, she increased the price and kept it up for a little bit because she had to. She took down all the content on it, but until the rest of the month paying subscribers had ended, like you can't just take it down when someone could have subscribed like last week and then not get their money's worth out of it. So she was able to delete the content, and she couldn't delete the actual OnlyFans until after that. So then once she deleted that, I'm just going to say from like a business perspective and a grifting perspective, it wouldn't make any sense. There is no way she's going to make even remotely a fraction of the amount of money as a Christian content creator as she would continuing that OnlyFans content. So, in terms of, oh, it's all about the grift, it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. And then also, if people are like, oh, well, she's doing this because she's all washed up now and she's looking for a husband, she already found a husband. Um, so I do think, I mean, this is definitely after seeing a lot of what she's spoken of, talking about her history and talking about how she grew up and talking about scripture. She definitely knows the word of God. She definitely knows a lot about the Bible. And I'm definitely of the impression that her conversion was genuine. Now, if there's anything else down the line that can indicate otherwise, we'll see and assess that as it happens. But so far, there hasn't been any of that.
What do you, because she was, let's see, she was a pastor's daughter.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think happens? Because she certainly has a baseline, a foundation of
Right.
knowledge in the faith.
Right.
And then maybe has her kind of like adolescence, her kind of acting out, you know, I want to be my own person. And then what
Mhm.
kind of do you think, like what usually happens in cases like this? Do you think it's a moment or like a dream or what usually I mean, it's probably different for everybody, but
Right.
does it have to be like a rock bottom moment or can it be like a subtle
It can be
nudging?
a progression, and that's the thing is once you start dabbling into sin. Sin can't be contained. So once you start dabbling into it, validating
Mhm.
it spirals out of control as you continue
Wow.
down that path. And like the Bible talks about, the prodigal son, for example, who goes away, but then Jesus will still, like, if you come back, Jesus will still accept you back into the fold. So and I believe that's what happened in her case. And I don't know exactly all of her experience, but I know for myself, thank God I didn't go down super down the bad path. But I did go through a phase where I was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I called myself agnostic, and I kind of rebelled against my faith, even though, and that's exactly what it was. It was a rebellion because I was still living mostly like my values were instilled in me, because it's really hard to venture from that. Not completely, not totally, obviously, uh but yeah, I still had that instilled in me, and those values never left. Like, I wasn't going to go out partying. I wasn't going to go out and be promiscuous, because that stuff would have felt icky to me, even though I was trying to rebel. But in my case, what was the catalyst for me? I stopped reading the Bible, I stopped praying. Fellowship with God daily is so important for Christians if you want to keep your faith strong.
Mm.
If you neglect that, I mean, if you don't eat, you're eventually going to be sickly and skinny. So if you don't feed your soul through Bible and prayer on a daily basis, eventually you're going to be sick in that area as well. And so that's kind of what started it for me. And then I started dating outside the faith. I started, okay, here I've my first serious relationship was with an atheist.
Hmm.
And I think for a lot of people it's easy to think, especially as a Christian, because there's so few, narrow is the path to heaven. And there's so few who, plenty of people say they're Christians, but who actually live a Christian lifestyle, or um, actually saved. There's not a whole lot. And so when it can be discouraging when it comes to dating, for example, or looking for a spouse, because it's like, well, I have hardly any options. And then you want to factor in, you want to be attracted to somebody, you want to get along with that person, this, that, and the other. And it feels like a lost cause. And so in my case, I compromised. I started dating an atheist. I got in a serious relationship with an atheist. And the Bible tells us as Christians not to be unequally yoked with non believers. And I truly believe that, because even when I started dating this atheist at that time, I was still calling myself a Christian. Um, but eventually, slowly but surely, again, like boiling a frog, I started more and more distancing myself, and then before you knew it, I went through a rebellious phase against my faith. So in her case, I would imagine it probably was something more or less along those lines. She started dabbling into sin or making exceptions of things, and this is why it's so important to accept the Bible as complete truth. And that's something that whenever I came back to my faith, I had to tell myself, it doesn't, like, the Bible is truth. God's way is truth. We need a firm foundation. We can't rely on our feelings. If I see something and I'm like, I don't think I would do it that way, that doesn't matter. I'm not God. And so that's what really changed my life, is reading the Bible every single day and realizing that, hey, this is that firm foundation. I'm not going to rely on feelings for morality. I'm not going to rely on subjective morality. We have objective morality in the Bible. Um, and so whenever you start making exceptions for this, that, or the other, um, then before you know it, you can really go down a dark path.
That's a good point. Like, it's just a little sin is gonna lead you to more sin.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, it's just one dip in the hot tub with this other couple. Oh, it's just one
Yeah.
bump of Coke." These are just examples. I'm not referencing anything specifically, of course,
Right.
but, um, and, like, you have to keep yourself in check, and it makes sense because when Frank and I got married, I was
Mhm.
raised Methodist, he's raised Catholic, and I'm thinking like, "Oh, I've never even dated a Jewish person or really an
Right.
agnostic," but I don't know if that was conscious or not, but, to get married in the Catholic Church, they're big on you have to be baptized, which I was already, and, And if either of us had been married before, it would be a no-go. So I felt really lucky that, like, we were able to do that, and,
Right.
I liked having to jump through a bunch of different hoops and, like
And that ceremony was beautiful. That was such a great wedding.
it was awesome, and we did a church wedding the month before, but we thought to do it, like, with our regular wedding, but we didn't wanna put everybody through
Right.
going to, like, multiple venues, but the same guy did it, like, the same,
Oh, he was
deacon did
great.
the church one who did the one that everybody was at the Bear Mountain. Yeah, it was really awesome. I think you're such a great role model because I think a lot of people rebel because they look at their church, growing up, they think they don't really see the Bible kind of in
Mhm.
action. It just seems like an old dusty like book to them, and
Mhm.
I can see when you're young and it's like, "Oh, well, this seems kind of boring," and I don't really see like
Yeah.
God's words in action or relevant to your life. That's why I think someone like you is so important, like, of an example to put out there because you're kind of, like, doing it your way. You're not a cookie cutter, you're not just, like, tearing around in, like, a paisley dress in a cornfield,
Right. And that's
like,
the
you're
thing.
edgy, you have a good look, like, you're your own person,
That's
you're
yeah, and that's
funny.
the thing is the Bible, when we see time and time again examples of who God used in the Bible, he used some very rough around the edges people in the Bible. He wasn't using the Pharisees who gave this air of being self-righteous and perfect and this and that. And so he used people who definitely were unsuspecting to be doing the things that they were doing and leading people to God and on His mission. And so that's how I try to be. I don't want to give this air that I'm self righteous. Uh, Obviously, I'm not going to be justifying any sin, or I'm not going to be doing things that are. I'm not going to be promoting sin, and I don't want to. I still believe like, okay, yeah, modesty is important, but modesty doesn't mean you have to be covered up to here and down to your ankles and stuff. I consider when I wear modest, it's cute, but I'm not showing any
Right.
sensitive parts. Some people
You
would
know what to
consider
do,
this
you know where the
immodest,
line
but I
is.
don't.
Yeah.
And it's like, and there's no specific, it's yeah, it's just one of those things to where it's like, okay, yeah, this is me, this is who I am. I have these tattoos. I don't look like somebody who and a lot of what we see, and I think that there are some really great Bible channels if people want to dress like that or dress ultra, ultra, ultra conservative, this and that. Good for them. If they feel they need to dress like that, they should. But there are people who don't do that as well, and that's fine. Because here's the thing is I feel like trying to reach the world, trying to reach the lost, it's gonna be a lot more difficult if I'm
Mm.
presenting myself as this self-righteous person and if I were to do so, then I think that my channel would only reach other Christians, and that's not my mission. My mission isn't just to preach to the choir. I'm trying to reach people who aren't saved. I'm trying to reach people who maybe strayed from their faith and then can come back. Some people think, wait, but I can't if I'm a Christian, can I play video games? Can I play Doom? Can I play this, that, or the other? And it's like, yes. I'm not one of those that says you can't have fun, you can't do this, you can't do that. If it's not against the Bible, I'm not gonna say that you can't do it. And so I think that helps. I think when people like with a lot of my content, people see me and they just, oh, she's just like a normal gamer. Um, and then they see that how serious I take my faith, and so you don't have to look a specific way.
I like the idea of reaching the lost, and I think it's something we all can do in varying degrees. Like I'm not gonna mention her name, but I had an OnlyFans girl on and she was talking about how she had a really hard time, like, meeting a guy and dating because so much of her time was taken up by answering DMs on OnlyFans and getting back. She said, basically all her bandwidth and all her, like, flirty banter was spent on her, essentially, customers, and she admitted that she had really
Wow.
nothing left for then trying to swipe through or she just was really very business minded, very successful, but she had nothing left for finding a guy. And I said, like, I, and not that I was judgy or shitty about it, but I talked to her in such a way. I don't know what I exactly said. I was like, I basically put it to her like, so do you think you have no time to find a guy because you're spending all of your energy or your best hours on your, I didn't say customers, but like
Yeah.
on your DMs? And she was like, yeah, I think that's what's going on. And I don't know, not that I changed her life or anything. I'm sure
But it
I'm
could have
uh,
helped.
but
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I like talking to these girls, not to have them on to judge them. Like obviously my show on Compound Media, it's fun. It's like a little risque, but occasionally, like I don't know. I there's something. I don't think we should shun these people um,
I think they should
out of
know that there's
society.
a path to redemption. I think as society um we shouldn't be glorifying those type of behaviors. And I do think that uh so once stuff gets accepted a lot, I don't believe in degrading people or making them like specifically going after people and trying to degrade them, trying to rip them apart, trying to make them feel like they will be a loser for the rest of their lives. I don't think we should do that. I think that they do need to know, hey, this isn't a good path, and you deserve better than that. And I hope that you can be redeemed from this and find Jesus and step into your real purpose. Just like with in society in general, if we do accept a bunch of this kind of stuff, a bunch of degeneracy, then that will reflect on society as a whole. Look, whenever people started saying, stop kink shaming, stop this, that, oh, well, we need to celebrate pride and this and that. It didn't take long at all before things just got out of control because this stuff can't stay contained. And even in the Bible, we see in First Kings, Second Kings, um, the kings who the kings who were, even if they were following God, but they didn't help clean up society. If they didn't take down the Asherah poles, the idols, and they didn't stop the prostitution, then things got out of control. Israel was a mess. But the ones who were, and that again, that was even if they were Christian, the act, or if they were believers, um, followed God, believed in God. But it was extend so far beyond that for Israel to be blessed. And so that live and let live mentality didn't work for society. But then you had the kings who were like, okay, I'm a servant of God and I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to tear down these idols and I'm going to stop the prostitution because they had a rampant male prostitution at that time. I'm going to stop the prostitution. Whenever they did all that, then Israel prospered and flourished. And I think that that's a huge part of society right now. Obviously, you can't force people not to do this. You can't force people not to do that. But you can as a society shame activities without trying to humiliate people individually per se, but you can shame activities and say, you know what, prostitution is not okay, even internet prostitution, um, all of your kinks, all of this degeneracy, even pornography, this, that, and the other. We need to shame this stuff. You can't control people from never doing those things, but at least keep it in the closet because this is poisoning society and enough is enough.
Let's push ups. Mel, if it's not too personal, can I ask how your folks reacted to your agnostic phase? How did you come back to your faith?
I mean, they didn't like it, but they were praying for me and they still loved me. They had plenty of talks with me and but the way my mom described it is she just had faith in knowing that because there's that Bible verse. I need to memorize this because I bring it up multiple times. But like raise your kids in the way they should go and they will not depart from it. And so she just put her faith in that and knowing that she'll be back. She'll be back. This is
Mm.
just a phase right now. She'll be back. So they kept praying for me. And I mean, we did have some headbutt moments. Um, but families do sometimes. We got through it. And then I came back to my faith. Like what people ask me all the time, what made you come back to your faith? And it wasn't just a specific event. It was just kind of a realization I had at one point where I was like, I know that the Bible is right. I know that morally speaking, I can't just go out and live a sinful life. It feels icky to me. I can't go out and do that. So if I know, and if I'm still living by the principles that the Bible has, that my parents taught me through the Bible, then what am I doing being rebellious about it? And so for the first year, I kind of kept it on the low key. I didn't even really tell anybody when I came back to Jesus, accepted Jesus again. I didn't even tell anybody for about a year. And at that time, I was either engaged or married. I was before the divorce. And he wasn't a Christian. And so then there was that
Mm.
obstacle of like, how do I bring this up to him? And so I went like a year not telling almost anybody. And then it was a slow progression. Then after about that amount of time, I started sharing a Bible verse here and there, but I would only share the fluffy, nice ones. I wouldn't share the more like, okay, the conviction ones. And then I was trying to do Christianity my way, where I was like, okay, I want to come back to my faith, but I still want to be an ally to all this and that. I still want to justify this, that, or the other. And that's what I did at first. And then then I went through hell with a divorce and all that entails. And then after that was all done, and all that, I committed myself to, okay, I was like, I remember when I was a teenager, because I could tell that my faith wasn't nearly as strong as it used to be when I was younger. And I thought, hey, when I was a teenager, I used to be um, really strong in my faith. But I was reading my Bible every single day. So I was like, I need to start reading the Bible every day, no exception. Treat it just like, I need to eat food every day. Okay, I'm going to read the Bible every day. And so it changed my life, and it didn't even take that long. The more I kept growing and growing, I mean, the first month even, I noticed a dramatic difference in my faith, and it just kept progressing from there. And that's when I started to see, okay, I shouldn't be justifying sin. I shouldn't be trying to be an ally in this and that. I can still love people and hope that they get through it, but it's not loving to justify people in their
Mm.
sin and clap as they're on their way to walking off cliff. And that's what I realized I was doing. And also, it just took humbling, because I was like, hey, I don't make the rules. If I see
Right.
something that I wouldn't do, or that I don't necessarily like, do I like it that certain things are a sin? No, I don't like that. But I didn't create the universe. God did. And God knows best. And so it took me humbling myself to that, and reading the Bible daily to really change my life.
How do you know what to read in the Bible? Like, how do you jump around? It seems kind of daunting, and I feel like I've asked you this before, to just, like, open it up and just go, "Here's one, here we go."
Some people do that, but for me, I find it's important just to read it in order. And some people are even like, "Oh, just start with the New Testament because that's what applies to today." But first of all, a lot of the Old Testament still does apply, but also what's the reading the Old Testament first gives you full context and full understanding of why we need Jesus. So, if you're just going to skip ahead to, okay, this is about Jesus and this is what Jesus did. Well, if you're going to skip all the Old Testament, you're going to skip what society was like before Jesus came. You're going to miss
Mm.
all the foreshadowing. There's tons of foreshadowing that shows you we need a savior. And then it builds up to, I mean, you even have prophecy in the Old Testament. And so, yeah, I think just start at the beginning and keep reading through. And that's what I've done. And I think that's the best way to read the Bible. But as long as you're reading the Bible in general, that's always a good thing, because ultimately what you're getting out of it isn't only, oh, I'm reading something that's applying to me in this moment. There are so many times I read the Bible that whatever I read doesn't apply to me in that moment, but I still feel the Holy Spirit, because it's fellowship
Hmm.
with God. And that
And you're
grows your faith
trying.
immensely. Yeah. So, it's just like, imagine if you're trying to strengthen your relationship with your husband, for example. Spending time together is a good way to do that. And it doesn't mean that every time you have to be talking about this topic or that topic, or you have to be talking about whatever you're going through in that moment. It's just the act of being together that is growing your
Yeah.
relationship. And so with God, it's the same way reading the Bible is like, okay, this is fellowship with God right now.
Speaking of OF girls, what up with the girl who said she quit after accepting Christ? Oh, I think that was Nala who we talked about. It seems like she's still chugging along. I don't think she's been
Yeah,
like, "Quit quitting."
I believe her. I think her conversion was real.
Love you guys. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for the comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye. All right. Love you guys. God, I don't even want to leave. This candle smells so good. I don't want to leave. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all. Join the Discord. Feet. Love you all. Wow. You guys are awesome. Come and get it. Bye, guys. Bye. Now I'm really leaving. Love you. Bye.